Hello and welcome to this video. Now, in this one, we'll have quite an exciting thing to look at, and if you don't care for the intro and my explanation about everything, just skip to the action. And if you only want to know how to get all that thing arranged and started and ready for somewhat of a development, you can skip to another section of this video. Now, this technology, Blazor Xamarin Hybrid, who really knows what the name is? It's still an experimental technology, but Blazor at some point was experimental technology as well, and now Blazor is the thing. We can develop real-world applications. You can go to my courses platform that's developed with Blazor, real Blazor, no interruptions with anything, and works perfectly. So Blazor became a thing. It was an experiment, it was a great experiment, and in my opinion this Xamarin-Blazor hybrid is a good experiment as well. Now, it's still not ready in my opinion. It's still not ready. There's still not enough documentation, there's still some things lacking, there's still some things that are not quite clear as to how they should exist and how they should function. But from what I've seen and from what little projects I've tried to do with that technology, I have discovered that it's not really worse than the regular Xamarin. And if you have worked with Xamarin, you definitely know it's not the most user-friendly technology to work with. It can be quite annoying, you can get some weird errors and nothing will run. And unfortunately the same thing of course goes for the Blazor Xamarin hybrid. But it still isn't bad, and it's kind of a bit easier to write at least some dynamic code, say lists and things like that, with this Blazor Xamarin arrangement rather than just pure Xamarin. It makes your life a bit easier, at least from what I've experienced so far. So we'll just take a look at a simple project that I wrote, not one of those template projects, just something that I actually wrote, and I'll explain to you a few things about design of it, basically how everything is arranged and how not to make everything messy, and just a few initial things such as binding things and how to declare these events, on-click event specifically. And finally in this video we'll take a look at how you can find this whole arrangement, where you download the template, where you get the templates, and what you need to have installed in your Visual Studio in order for this to work. So with that said, let's jump into some action. Now then, it's time to look at the code, and the first thing I will show you, or explain to you rather, will not be something functional. It will actually be something design oriented, okay, the styles of it. And first of all we can look at this main.razor. So this is basically the main page we have for now. We don't have any other page, there's no navigation here, nothing pretty much is implemented. I'll also show you a few things on the App.cs, but first at the design, something that's very important actually. Right here we have content view, okay, this is where everything in that page goes into basically. And then we have stack layout. Now stack layout, if you're not familiar with Xamarin, basically what it does is it stacks the items. So this entry will be above button, or rather the button will be below entry and then label below the button. It goes into a sort of a stack. It can make your life easier, especially if you only need to do Xamarin for mobile. That can be extremely useful because pretty much everything in mobile design will be in a stack, so there's no point to re-implement something else. But that is not yet enough, okay? That is not yet enough. Now we have a few interesting characters right here, a few interesting elements rather, but all of them, pretty much all of them, if you want them to fit right, if you want them to look right, you will need to have thickness, okay? You will need to have thickness, you will need to have width, which is with request. In Xamarin in general, that's the same thing. And then you will need horizontal options, okay? you must have horizontal options, okay? If you put the width, if you put thickness, it won't work because it won't have any sort of initial reference point, and basically the whole element will just go from left to right. There's no space, no nothing will work. So it is crucial before you do anything to add horizontal options on every element that you want to sort of deal with. Now the label, in this case, it doesn't have that because we don't really need it. So now I'm going to launch it, and the way you launch it, you go on the top, you choose which device you want to launch it on, and we launch it. Now I do it on Windows. I prefer to do everything on Windows when it comes to Xamarin as much as possible. Of course, you do want to test it on these devices on Android, and if you do iOS, obviously on that as well. But it is a lot quicker to launch everything Xamarin related on simple Windows UWP application. Okay, so now you see on the top we have test application, and basically what it does, it takes in a value like that, say test, and it binds it and it displays it. Okay, but you can see it displays right away. So it's not like simple Blazor where you do a normal binding and then you need to lose focus and only then it will bind. It binds right away with no extra on that binding arrangement. Okay, now the clear button simply clears the value, and that's it. That's all it does. Okay, now remember we have this sort of a title here for the content page. So I'm going to close it. I'm going to show you where it is. It is actually in the app.cs. Okay, app.cs is in the main arrangement. Okay, in the main arrangement we have app.cs. We also have main.razor. Now they also give you some bits of an actual Blazor application which is supposed to work, but it doesn't really sort of work. But that's not really the point here. We're looking at the Xamarin-Blazor hybrid part of it all, not in displaying the web application, right? So in app.cs, right here we have a few configurations. Okay, it gives you a bit of a commenting here, register app specific services. So registering the services, it's kind of like in the server-side Blazor, and of course it's similar to API development as well. It's that kind of an arrangement. You have app.cs. Now if you remember, in Blazor the app.cs is quite a bit different. It basically just handles the routing of things. Yeah, so this is a bit different, but we won't get into detail here. There's no point. But right here, the main page, okay? The main page. So this is going to be the initial page into which everything gets launched, basically. So we have content page, right? And we have the title. The title is right here. You can change that. And then we add component and we do main.cs, not .cs actually, it's .razor. Right here is main.razor. Okay, and the parent for it is the main page. So it basically, this component basically goes into the main page, which is the content page. It is quite confusing for now. There's not a lot of information out there. It's still in the experimental stage, as I have mentioned previously. So in my opinion, it's not really quite ready. I will be making a course on it once it is a bit more mature, perhaps a bit more ready to actually put it in some level of production. I've tried to experiment with it a bit, but it's still not ready in my opinion. There's still lack of support, there's still lack of resources. It's not quite ready yet, but it is a good idea and it works almost better than regular Xamarin, which is not a lot to ask probably. Okay, so we have in this example we have entry, which is an input box or a text box in Xamarin. In Xamarin it's the same thing. Entry, we start with a capital E, okay, entry. And then we have button, also with capital B. The reason I'm saying is because this is a razor, so it will suggest regular razor, or Blazor rather. So say button. You see, the suggestion is for that HTML button. We do not use it. We do not use HTML in this arrangement. This is a Xamarin only. It's quite confusing, but I believe it's quite easy to get used to. Okay, so first the binding. We have entry, and then we do bind text. Okay, bind text. And then we bind the text. So it's bind text. Not bind, not something else, but you bind text. So you bind text. That's what you use. And for that we have a display text, simple string, right? And then we also have a method. A method which removes basically everything from the string. Nothing too fancy here, but I do want to show you the onClick. You see, onClick here starts with a capitalized O, and then we have capitalized C. onClick. This is how you write onClick. You don't need this sign and then on or something like that. It's just a simple onClick. Okay, and then we provide our little event or method, whichever one it could be. But you can also do asynchronous, you can do that little lambda expression arrangement, you can do all those different things. And then you can see the text for the label is just set like that. You do want to set the text. You don't want to set the insides pretty much anywhere here. You just want to set the properties, it will be a lot better. Okay, so now you can find this little piece of code in my Patreon. You can take a look at that and also get some great deals on my courses on the Confucian Solution Learning Platform. You can also take a look, of course, at my Blazor course there and the Xamarin course as well to get started with all those things before the time comes to start with the Xamarin-Blazor hybrid, or well, it will be called at that point of maturity. And now we can take a look at the implementation, or rather where you can get this whole arrangement, what you need to install, and where can you get this template. Now then, to get this arrangement going, you only need a couple of things basically. You need obviously your Visual Studio installed properly according to what you need, and then you'll need to install the templates, and then you'll need to actually download the template because it's still experimental. Hopefully it will get better if this thing catches on, but we will see. But for now, you can see right here we are in this documentation, if you can call it, page platform right here in the Docs Microsoft. As you would usually find documentations for these things, but these are mobile Blazor bindings. Mobile Blazor bindings, get started. There are a few descriptions here and there, but nothing too fancy. And as I said before, not really enough. But you get your prerequisites. You obviously need to have your Xamarin installed with Visual Studio, right? And then the whole web development thing installed as well. And then you need to install your template. So you go to this page, the link is provided, and you run this whole thing on your command line interface. Like that, copy that and run it. I'm not going to show you, there's no point in it, just run it, it will succeed, and then you will have your templates. Now to actually receive or retrieve the template, you will need to go to this page and you will need to run this command right here, new Blazor hybrid. So you need to generate it like that, and then you can actually retrieve it. So that's it for the first look at the Blazor Xamarin hybrid arrangement. It's not the best thing in the world yet, but I do believe it, if it does go through this experimental stage, if it does become a thing, it will be a lot more useful and a lot more, well, easier to use when Xamarin and standalone Xamarin form, so something to look forward to. Now, do subscribe to this channel for more information, and do watch out for a course on this topic. If it does go through, I will be making a course. So subscribe, like this video if you liked it, support this channel on Patreon. You can find the source code on Patreon. And with that said, we will conclude this video.